Once upon a time, there was a little boy named Matthew. Matthew loved stories, and every day, he would read one. He had a special collection of beginner's books that he enjoyed. One day, in the month of January, Matthew picked up a book called The Sky is Blue. In the story, Matthew's uncle sent him a picture of a beautiful blue sky with fluffy white clouds. Matthew was filled with joy when he saw the picture. He asked his uncle why the sky wasn't always blue. His uncle explained that in his city, there were too many cars, which caused the sky to often look gray, but seeing white clouds in a blue sky was a truly beautiful sight. Matthew thanked his uncle for the picture and promised to cherish it always. He loved looking at the blue skies and dreaming of fluffy clouds. In another story called Fruit or Vegetables, Matthew learned about his friends, Mac and Kim. Mac loved vegetables, but didn't enjoy eating fruit, while Kim was the opposite. She loved fruit, but wasn't fond of vegetables. During lunchtime, their friend Rachel told them about people in some places who didn't have enough food to eat. It made Matthew think about how fortunate they were to have both fruits and vegetables. Rachel said that all food was good if you thought about those who went hungry. Matthew realized that he should appreciate all kinds of food and be thankful for what he had on his plate. In the story report card, Matthew's friend Pat stopped working and came out of his office. He shared with his friends that his 95-year-old mother still kept his kindergarten report card. His friends were curious to know what the report card said, but Pat reminded them to stop visiting their neighbors and mind their own business. Matthew understood that it's not polite to pry into other people's personal matters. In the next story called Tall Tom, Matthew's classmate Tom was incredibly tall. He was taller than anyone in their class, even taller than their teacher. One day, their teacher asked them to play a game called Reach High. Tom raised his hand, and all the kids jumped as high as they could, trying to reach Tom's hand. But no one could do it because Tom was so tall. Matthew learned that everyone is unique in their own way, and being tall can be a special gift. Finally, in the story Basketball is Fun, Matthew received a basketball from his uncle for his birthday. His uncle showed him how to bounce the ball. At first, Matthew could only bounce it a few times, but with practice, he became better and better. He could bounce the ball many times without letting it fall. Matthew was thrilled with his progress and dreamed of being able to shoot the ball into the net someday. And so, Matthew enjoyed reading these stories and learned important lessons along the way. He learned to appreciate the beauty of the sky, to be grateful for all kinds of food, to respect others' privacy, to celebrate differences, and to persevere in his hobbies. Each story brought him joy and wisdom, making him a little wiser with each passing day. One sunny day, Matthew and his classmates went on a field trip to the nearby forest. They had learned in school about the importance of trees and wanted to see them up close. As they walked through the forest, they marveled at the tall, green trees that stretched towards the sky. Their teacher, Mrs. Johnson, gathered them around and explained, "Trees are incredible. They provide us with fresh air, shade, and even the wood we use to build our houses and make furniture. But it's important to take care of our trees and protect the environment." Matthew raised his hand and asked, "How can we take care of the trees, Mrs. Johnson?" Mrs. Johnson smiled and replied, "There are many ways we can help. One simple way is to recycle paper. When we recycle paper, we save trees because we can make new paper from old ones without cutting down more trees." Matthew was inspired and wanted to do something to save the trees. He remembered that he had a painting of trees he made during art class. It gave him an idea. In the next story, A Picture for Dad, Matthew decided to use his painting to spread awareness about saving trees. He painted another picture, this time with a message, "Save the trees." He gave it to his dad as a surprise gift. When his dad saw the painting, he was amazed. "Wow, Matthew. This is incredible. You're not only a talented artist but also an advocate for the environment." Matthew's dad hung the painting on the wall, right next to the picture Matthew had made of him. Matthew felt proud that his artwork could make a difference. In the seventh story, Many Kinds of Milk, Matthew learned something new at school. Joey's teacher explained that milk doesn't only come from cows. People around the world also drink milk from sheep, horses, and even camels. Matthew found it fascinating to know that there were different kinds of milk. He thought about how milk was an essential source of nutrients, helping children grow strong and healthy. Matthew realized that just like milk came from different animals, people also had different preferences and tastes, and that was okay. Matthew continued to explore the world around him, learning new things every day. From appreciating the beauty of nature to understanding the different foods and beverages people enjoyed, he discovered that there was so much to explore and appreciate. And so, Matthew's journey of learning and adventure continued, as he eagerly looked forward to the next story that would bring him new knowledge and excitement. Matthew exclaimed as he looked out the window. The trees were swaying and leaves danced in the air. Matthew loved windy days because they always brought a sense of adventure. Matthew put on his warmest jacket and headed outside. As he stepped out, the wind blew his hair back, making him feel like a superhero. Whoosh, he pretended to fly through the air. The wind carried his laughter as he ran through the neighborhood. As Matthew turned the corner, he saw something unusual. It was Santa Claus himself, struggling against the wind. Santa's red suit billowed around him, and his long white beard fluttered in the gusts. Matthew rushed over to help him. "Santa, are you okay?" Matthew asked, trying to catch his breath. Santa chuckled, his voice carried by the wind. "Ho ho ho. It seems the wind has decided to give me a challenge this year. But don't worry, young Matthew, I've faced windier days than this." Matthew and Santa joined forces, holding on to each other tightly. Despite the wind's resistance, they managed to make their way through the howling gusts. Matthew's cheeks turned rosy from the cold, but he didn't mind. He was determined to help Santa. As they reached Santa's sleigh, Matthew noticed that some presents had fallen off. "Oh no, Santa. We have to gather them," Matthew said, pointing to the scattered gifts. With Santa's magic and Matthew's quick feet, they collected all the presents and secured them back onto the sleigh. "Thank you, Matthew. You've been a great help," Santa said, his eyes twinkling with gratitude. Matthew beamed with pride. "You're welcome, Santa. It's been an exciting adventure." Santa patted Matthew's head. "You know, Matthew, windy days like this remind us that even when things don't go as planned, we can still find joy and help others. The wind may have pushed us, but it also brought us together." Matthew nodded, understanding the lesson. "I'm glad I could be here to help you, Santa. I hope you have a safe journey." With a jolly laugh, Santa climbed onto his sleigh, and the reindeer took off into the sky. Matthew watched them disappear into the distance, feeling a sense of warmth in his heart. As Matthew walked back home, the wind continued to blow. But now, he didn't mind the cold or the strong gusts. He knew that windy days could bring unexpected adventures and the opportunity to spread joy, just like helping Santa Claus. And from that day forward, whenever Matthew saw the wind dancing through the trees, he would smile and remember the windy Christmas when he became Santa's helper. One sunny day, as I was cleaning my room, I accidentally left the door open. Whiskers seized the opportunity and sneaked into the room, eyeing the birdcage with mischievous intent. "Whiskers, no!" I shouted, rushing to protect my feathered friend. But before I could reach the cage, Whiskers pounced, knocking it over. The bird fluttered out of the cage, startled and scared. I quickly closed the door, trapping Whiskers outside, and turned my attention to the frightened bird. "Don't worry, little bird," I said soothingly. "I'll keep you safe." I carefully approached the bird, extending my hand. It hopped onto my finger, its tiny claws clinging gently. I carried it outside and found a spot under a leafy tree, away from Whiskers' prying eyes. As the bird perched on a branch, I realized it couldn't fly very well. Its wing had been injured during the chaos in my room. I knew I had to help it somehow. I ran back inside and rummaged through my room, searching for something that could serve as a makeshift birdcage. Finally, I found a large cardboard box and quickly transformed it into a cozy, temporary home for the bird. I gently lifted the bird and placed it inside the box, making sure it had fresh water and some birdseed to eat. "You'll be safe here," I whispered, watching as it settled down. But I couldn't leave the bird alone. I remembered a story my grandma had once told me about a wounded bird she had nursed back to health. She had splinted its broken wing and cared for it until it could fly again. With determination in my heart, I set out to find materials to make a splint for the bird's wing. I gathered popsicle sticks, soft fabric, and some tape. Back at the cardboard box, I carefully fashioned a small splint and gently secured it to the bird's injured wing. Days turned into weeks, and I became the bird's devoted caretaker. I visited it every day, bringing fresh food and water and talking to it softly. I watched with joy as the bird's wing gradually healed, and its strength returned. One sunny morning, as I approached the cardboard box, I noticed the bird chirping excitedly and flapping its wings. It was ready to fly again. With a smile on my face, I opened the box and watched as the bird soared into the sky, its wings gliding gracefully through the air. It circled above me for a moment, as if saying goodbye, before disappearing into the horizon. I felt a sense of accomplishment and fulfillment in my heart. I had saved the bird and helped it return to its natural habitat. From that day forward, I knew that saving the world started with making a difference in my own little world. And as for Whiskers, well, the sight of the bird flying away had left an impression on him too. He became less interested in catching birds and more content with chasing his own tail and playing with his toys. From that day forward, my room became a peaceful haven where the bird's song and Whiskers' playful antics harmonized. And I, Simon, had learned that saving the world could start with saving one small, precious life and making a difference right where I was. Matthew loved his little blue bird, and he enjoyed listening to her beautiful songs. But there was one problem. Whenever his cat, Whiskers, entered the room, the bird would become quiet and still. Matthew knew that his bird was afraid of the cat. "I need to help my bird feel safe," Matthew thought to himself. He brainstormed ideas on how to create a peaceful environment for both his bird and his cat. Matthew decided to rearrange his room. He moved the birdcage to a higher shelf, out of Whiskers' reach. This way, the bird would feel secure knowing that the cat couldn't get to her. Next, Matthew created a cozy corner for Whiskers, complete with a soft bed and plenty of toys. He wanted to ensure that Whiskers had his own space where he could relax and play without bothering the bird. With the room rearranged, Matthew observed how his bird and cat interacted. To his delight, he noticed that the bird felt more at ease. She started singing again, even when Whiskers was nearby. It seemed like they were slowly becoming friends. But Matthew didn't stop there. He realized that his cat might be curious about the bird and wanted to get to know her better. So, he came up with a plan to introduce them properly. Matthew created a special playtime routine. Every day, he would let Whiskers into his room while the bird was safely in her cage. He played gentle music and engaged Whiskers with interactive toys. This way, Whiskers would associate positive experiences with being in the same space as the bird. As days turned into weeks, Matthew noticed a remarkable change. The bird and the cat seemed more comfortable around each other. The bird would sing softly while Whiskers played nearby. Whiskers, in turn, would watch the bird with curious eyes, but showed no signs of aggression. Matthew couldn't contain his excitement. His plan was working. The room had become a harmonious place where his bird could sing freely, and Whiskers could enjoy his playtime without causing any harm. One evening, as Matthew sat in his room, he looked at his bird and cat peacefully coexisting. He realized that sometimes, even the most unlikely friendships could blossom with a little understanding and patience. "I'm so proud of you, Whiskers, and you too, little bird," Matthew said, beaming with joy. "You've shown me the power of creating a safe and nurturing environment for everyone." From that day forward, Matthew's room became a haven of friendship between his beloved blue bird and mischievous Whiskers. And Matthew, with a heart full of compassion, learned that helping others overcome their fears and differences could lead to the most beautiful connections of all. Matthew loved the adventure.
Hey adventurers! Welcome to Samson's storybook, where magic meets imagination, enchanting tales, and exciting adventures. Hope you enjoy the story. Your engagement is the key to keeping the storybook alive. Don't forget to ring the bell, to stay tuned for every captivating chapter. Embark on a journey where every moment is a new adventure waiting to unfold. Subscribe now and let the magic begin.